the Meg sits in his room, someone knocks on the door. Come in, says Meg. 3 maids come to the door. Meg asks them what happened. Her Grace was in the kitchen just earlier, a moment ago, so we're breaking our backs cooking at night cause of that girl. It seems so. Her Grace even dolled her up with new shoes and clothes. What a pain, honestly. That just means more work for us, maid said. But at that moment Anrich came and heard everything. And she scolded us for daring to speak of Lady Liliana. It's not fair. Are we never allowed to complain, then? So what was her punishment? Meg asked. I'll smooth it over as much as I can. There was no punishment. She said she'd let it go this time. Hearing this, Meg is very surprised and asks herself. The Duchess, who thinks her servants aren't even people. She let the maids who were talking behind her back go. But now we're swamped with work cause of that Everett girl. Just imagine how troublesome it'll be for us if her Grace starts getting more involved with the servants' work. Another bedroom to clean, another bath to wait on. Hearing them, Meg says to herself. As I suspected, the change in the Duchess's personality can't be overlooked. Others might not know why, but I do. The only reason I, the head maid of House Balua, gained housekeeping authority, was that the Duchess never gave a damn about taking care of this place. If she starts getting involved now, then all my prestige and power will. But the maid interrupts her and asks is she okay? Meg says he's fine. The maids are complaining about Anrich again. The Meg gets up from his chair and says, it's all right. There's no need to worry. I won't let that happen. The maids were very happy when they heard her. After that Meg says, having just one extra guest in the house means a mountain of work for you all. Yet instead of thanks you get daggers. That's what we're saying. You're the only one who understands, madam, say the maids. But suddenly one of the maids says to Meg, my stars, perhaps we got all worked up for nothing. His Grace puts all his trust in you, doesn't he? You two have been like friends since you were little, after all. What can His Grace's wife do? You're closer to him than she is. Stop it. You're not wrong, but come now. I don't want you getting caught talking about this. Got it. Having said this, Meg tells them to leave. After the maids left, Meg sat down on a chair and said to herself, is there a way to keep the Duchess away from her duties like before? There must be something. It's morning, and Anrich woke up from his sleep. But when she sees Liliana sleeping, she calls her cute again. Last night Liliana came to Anrich and said, I'll get scared if you're not with me. It's all right. You can sleep with me, then. So Anrich and Liliana slept together in the same bed. Way to go, me. The sight of Liliana soundly asleep with a full stomach has me so proud I can't stop tearing up. I'm so glad I woke up as the evil mother-in-law. Forgetting about how on the first day her world was destroyed, she said this. But suddenly Liliana wakes up and asks Anrich she slept well. Anrich says yes. And she again thanked God for waking up in the body of her evil mother-in-law. Do you want some briefest? Asks Anrich, but Liliana say, I had dinner so late, I'm still quite full. Then, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? Liliana asked. Yes, answered Anrich. No one's asked me that before. I have no idea how to answer, but she's waiting for me to say something. Liliana told herself. But when she looked at Anrich again she answered. I want to spend time with you. With me, that's it, Anrich asked. Or if that makes you uncomfortable then, I'll stand next to you so I don't get in your way. I just want to stay with you, that's all, says Liliana. Anrich answers her, Liliana, I'm fine with us being together. You'd never get in the way, so get that silly little idea out of your head, okay? Looking at Anrich, Liliana said okay. What should I do with Lily today? After thinking a little, Anrich asked. Liliana, why don't we bake some cookies? Hearing her, Liliana instantly answered yes. And so Anrich and Liliana prepared cookies. But suddenly Anrich notices Elliot. I smelled something sweet, so I came to see what it was. I'm sorry, mother, Elliot says in a frightened voice. There's nothing to be sorry for, Elliot. You've done nothing wrong. Did you fall down? Are you hurt? Asked Anrich. I dropped my books by mistake. I didn't fall. I'm okay, answered Elliot. But, mother, yesterday, thank you for the hot cocoa. You don't need to thank me, Elliot, as long as you enjoyed it. Happy, says Anrich. Liliana comes to Elliot with cookies and says, you said you came because of the sweet smell, right? We baked cookies. Would you like to try one? Elliot answers sure. After tasting one cookie, Elliot said, it's delicious. It tastes sweet and rich. Seeing how Elliot looks at her, Anrich asks him, what is it, Elliot? Is it okay if we give Dad some cookies? Asked Elliot. Cookies? From you? Who gave you the right? Anrich thinks that Alexei will say exactly that. I can have Elliot give them to him. Anrich wants to do this but quickly realizes that it won't work either. Certainly, I'll go bring them to His Grace right now. When Anrich left, Elliot said, she's going herself. I thought she'd have a maid do it. And all because Anrich was a modern Korean woman and completely forgot that she had maids. And here is Anrich at the door of the Duke's office. She is very worried and wants to just leave the cookies at the door and leave. But suddenly the Duke says, is someone there? Come in if it's urgent. Anrich says it's her. Alexei is very surprised when he realizes that it is Anrich and thinks that she came to ask for money. Come in, said Alexei. And when Anrich comes inside they look at each other in silence. Anrich wants to quickly put cookies and leave. What's all that? Alexei asked. Cookies and tea. I can see that. I'm asking why. You're bringing me cookies and tea. Alexei said in an angry voice. I had a hunch this would happen, but I'm getting mad now. What do you mean why? Because I want you to eat them. I know you're waiting to ask for money. Just ask and get it over with so this moment can end. Excuse me, but they're not poisoned. What? Alexei asked. I'm not the type to mess around with food. You don't need to glare at me. They're just cookies. Anrich answered. No, that wasn't what I. So you're telling me that you really came with no other intentions. You're just here to give me cookies. Anrich doesn't like Alexei's words and she told him, I'd expect better manners from you, Your Grace. Yes, it's just to give you these cookies. They may be just cookies to you, but as I made them with Liliana, they're special to me. I realize your trust in me has run thin, but don't dismiss Liliana's sincerity, too. Did you say you and Liliana made those? Asked Alexei. Yes, is it a problem? I must be dreaming. Anrich made cookies herself. Alexei asks himself. They look at each other in silence. Anrich wants to leave but Alexei stops her and says, Anrich, that was rude of me. Please forgive me for my discourtesy. Anrich did not expect Alexei to apologize and this made him very nervous, but she said that he would accept his apology. Seeing a lot of books on the table, Anrich remembered that Alexei works a lot. You must be exhausted. I heard you had lots of work yesterday and arrived home late as well, and I see you have things to do here too. Is there anything I can help with? Asked Anrich. Hearing this, Alexei is very surprised and asks himself again, is this really Anrich? Alexei was so confused that he tried to end the conversation as quickly as possible. And when Anrich left, Alexei looked at the cookies and ate one. He liked them a lot. Her Grace is amazing. I've never met anyone as cool as her, said Liliana. But, why do you like her so much? What? Asked Liliana. You keep saying all these good things about her. I really don't know why you're doing that. To me, she's totally different, Elliot said sadly. To me, Her Grace is like a miracle. She's the first person who's been kind to me. The first to hold my hand. And the first to ask what I want. She never orders me around and thinks of what we can do together. That kind of miracle. After Liliana said this, she realized that with her words she was hurting Elliot. I see, said Elliot. Elliot thought for a moment, when he sees Liliana. Understands that she was upset for her words. Liliana, I'm fine, don't worry. No, I shouldn't have said all that, said Liliana. And to cheer up Liliana, Elliot invites her to play with him. Hello, princess, nice to meet you. My name is Bear, princess of the Bear Kingdom. May I ask your name? My name is Bun Bun. What a regal name. Why did it have to be dolls? These are the first gifts I've ever received, and her grace bought me these dolls, is what she said, so how could I say no to that? Elliot asked himself sadly. But suddenly Anrich comes and sits as they play with all those dolls, and it really excites her. Liliana saw Anrich and asked, Your Grace, when did you get here? Just now, I see you two are playing. Playing with your stuffed toys, are you? Anrich asked. Yes, Your Grace. After that Anrich also joined them. Alexei looks at something with a very surprised look, namely at her. I am the Demon Dog King. Get back, Bun Bun. Bear will keep you safe. What's going on? Am I seeing things? Is Anrich sitting on the floor playing with dolls? None of this seems like reality. Elliot notices Alexei and calls him. After this, Anrich sees Alexei and is very surprised. We meet again, Your Grace. You're playing with dolls? Alexei asked. Yes, as you can see. What brings you here? I came to thank you. To thank me, Anrich asked. Yes, for the cookies and tea. After that Alexei goes closer to Anrich and says, and for sorting out Liliana's problems. Thank you. Hearing this, Anrich blushed deeply and moved away from Alexei. Now that you mention it, it's your first time meeting her, isn't it? Liliana, say hello. My name is Liliana Everett. Thank you so much for letting me stay here, said Liliana. Alexei stood up and said, Yes, you're welcome. Anrich didn't like it and she wanted to tell him this, but Elliot beat her to it and told Alexei, Dad, you're supposed to smile. You look scary when you don't. You might scare Liliana. Hearing this, Alexei was very surprised and asked, My face is scary. Very, answered Elliot and Anrich. Understood, I'll try to be more, Alexei says, but Liliana interrupts him and says, Your Grace, you don't have to do anything for me, so even if I'm scared, I'll endure it. No Liliana, you don't have to deal with that, Anrich says laughing. I don't, asked Liliana. No, Mother's right. Just say whenever you feel scared. Having seen this scene, Alexei says to himself, For some reason, this place is starting to feel like a home. Anrich takes the children and they go to lunch. Before leaving, Anrich invites Alexei to go with them to lunch. All right. Anrich is very surprised when he hears this. Why are you so taken aback? Did you think I'd say no? Alexei asked. No, not at all. It was a happy surprise. And so they all go to lunch. But when Elliot looks back he is very surprised and says, Are you smiling, Dad? Was I smiling? Elliot, didn't you just tell me I should? It's weird when you actually smile, Dad. It's really weird. After dinner the butler comes and says, Your room is all prepared, Lady Liliana. You can use it right away. That's wonderful. Why don't we go see your new room, Liliana? Asked Anrich. I want to come with you too, said Elliot. Of course. I'll have a look as well. It's the first time her room has been prepared, so I will check if anything's missing. And here they are in Liliana's room. Liliana really likes her room. I suppose it's decent. I wonder if it could use some flowers and ribbons, said Alexei. But suddenly Liliana comes to Anrich and says, I have my own room now, so I guess we can't sleep together, right? Of course not. Just say the word, and you can jump into my bed, said Anrich. After that everyone left Lilian's room. This is my room. I couldn't tell from all the excitement whether it was all real or just a dream. I thought that I'd eventually blink, and I'd find myself back in the orphanage. Honestly, I was still worried it might happen. But now, when I feel these sheets, I know it's real and this is where I belong. All this time I've held my breath, but now I feel like I can exit. But suddenly someone screams outside the door of Liliana's room. You've barely started working here, and the other maids already can't stand you. I'm sorry, madam. Liliana comes out to see what's going on there. Meg yells at the new maid for her incompetence. Out of anger, Meg pushes her and she falls. Liliana seeing the maid lying on the floor. And remember your days at the orphanage. Stop it. You can't hit people. You shouldn't do that. Hitting and pushing people is bad. So, you can't do that, Liliana said in a frightened voice. Lady Liliana. Instructing the new maids is my duty. I would suggest that you stay out of this. I hope you heed my advice. It won't bode well if you keep interfering. Is that clear, my lady? Meg said in a loud voice. Looking at the maid again, Liliana said. Even so, what's wrong is wrong. If you see something wrong, you have to stop it. That applies to everyone. What a piece of work. She managed to say all that despite shaking like a twig. This brat's no better than a commoner, and yet she's trying to lecture me like some noble. This makes Meg very angry and she says to Liliana, So are you trying to say that you'll keep getting in our way, is that it? Asked Meg. What do you mean I'm getting in your way? I didn't mean to do that, said Liliana. You didn't mean to do that, and yet here you are interfering. Don't you think you should say sorry for that? Dear, it seems a noble such as Lady Liliana cannot apologize to the likes of commoners like myself, said Meg. What? That's not true. I don't think like that at all. If you say I have to apologize, then Meg thinks Liliana will apologize. But then he comes. What's going on here, Meg? How odd, Meg. I'm a bit confused by this situation. I'll need you to explain it to me. Why does Liliana owe you an apology? Our video ends at this interesting point. If you want a third part then write in the comments.